Right, thank you very much. We come now to item 6 on our agenda, which is public input, and we have accepted a request from David Hopkins to speak on the draft statement of intent for Auckland Transport, which is clearly on our agenda today. Could I ask David Hopkins to please come forward? Welcome, David, to the governing body of Auckland Council. You've got 5 minutes to speak, and then there'll be a chance for questions arising out of your comments. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all the councillors and all the staff for the work that you're doing to really transform this into a great city. I'm talking about something that you all know about and experience just about every day. It's not unknown. It's just a little governance issue to put up there in your consideration. It's about congestion and how is the congestion on the roads handled in the statement of intent. My desire is that it's clearer. That's what I'm here. Are you satisfied that how the statement of intent that's going to be agreed between Council and Auckland Transport is clear enough on what's going to happen on congestion on the roads or not? I'm not. I've tried to understand it and think about it. I'm not clear enough? Yeah. So that's what I'm here to briefly mention. I don't need to tell you, you know, it's impacting on people, businesses, the movements of goods and services every day, all the time, and people are affected by it. You know, as I look around the council, there's just, you've all said these in different ways. What can we do about it? Now, we didn't cause this mess, the situation, and neither did Auckland Transport. It's just, here it is. So the question is not who's responsible for causing it, but what can we do about it? Yeah. And I believe that, you know, in this statement of intent, we do have the opportunity to set our expectations. Now, public transport is a big part of the answer. Hooray. You know, some fabulous advocates at this table and beyond for public transport and for other initiatives that will reduce the road loads, such as cycling and school, walking to school. There's a whole host of programs that make a big difference, and you know, I'm like the rest of you, I'm really in favour of those. I'm not speaking against that in any way. I'm just talking about that there is a residual that travels on the roads. Hey, the businesses and people, it just doesn't work for everybody to be able to use public transport and cycling and the other initiatives. So what can we expect of Auckland Transport, and how clear can we be of our expectations? Now, you're professionals, you've thought about this sort of thing. I don't know what the answer is. You've got great staff to draft really clear language, but my expectation as a person, I'm not from any organisation in saying this, is that you and I can understand what are we doing about each aspect of transport. What are we asking Auckland Transport to agree and to do, and how will we be able to measure it? Will we know? Now, in public transport, it's easier. We can look at numbers of boardings and we can see that shooting up, and that's a wonderful success story, and full credit to everybody involved in that. It's making a big difference. But you look at what's written for the roads, page 9 and 10 of the Statement of Intent. Is it really clear to you? And if not, I encourage you to see whether you want to send it back to the staff and say, come on, let's make this a little bit clearer. I have no question about the expertise of Auckland Transport. If you ask them to do something, you know, they are the best that we can manage. And, you know, nothing that I'm saying is to take away from them at all. But when I read the measures that are proposed in that statement of intent about arterial road productivity, it's just opaque to me. You know, why are those roads so important? Why aren't other roads important? Why is it that the roads in the area where I live, and it's not only there, are just expanding and expanding in congestion, particularly at peak times? Are we really clear in either what we can do about it or the measure of it? Even if it's the answer is that the congestion is just getting worse and the productivity of our city is dropping, let's be honest about that and let's put that out there so that we can all have a conversation about it. Because, you know, people are telling you and they're telling each other what a pain it is, yeah, and how it's affecting people. You know, businesses that I've spoken to say we can't get staff because staff can't travel to get to our business. It's really hard for us to employ people. Yeah, you know that anyway. You've heard all these kind of things. So that's my point. Let's ask for clear guidance. If you're satisfied, well then you know this is your stuff. You know it clearer than I do. But I don't see that it's clear enough yet.
Thank you, David. Your timing is immaculate. You've just reached your 5 minutes in your last word. We'll just check for questions. I've got Councillor Quacks and then Councillor Cooper.
Yeah, thank you, David.
This about shopping.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'd be asking that question.
Look, are you aware of the stage 2 of the Amity project between the Pakuranga Road and the Panmure rail station, where the plan is to remove one lane of private vehicular traffic in each direction and replace it with a bus lane, cycling and walking? And when you ask Auckland Transport, where in the world can they demonstrate that removing a lane of traffic or 2 lanes of traffic on a busy urban road like Pakuranga Road, anywhere in the world, can they demonstrate that that actually reduces congestion rather than increasing congestion? And they don't have an answer, and they don't know that, apart from the fact that they will tell you it will increase the production ability of the traffic corridor. And those kind of meaningless statements are all too frequent.
Sorry, Councillor Quacks, could you come to the question, please?
I asked him if he was aware of that, Mr.
Okay, I think we've got the question. Thank you very much, David Hopkins.
Are you aware of that?
Yes, I am aware of that, and I'm also aware, as you very well are, of the difficulty of people coming out of that part of Auckland to join in with, you know, work and other activities, and it hurts actually. Yeah, it's just so much congestion. The specifics of the lane change, I think that's another level that it's not appropriate for my point of view for me to get into now, but I am aware of it. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm going to be a bit naughty too. Are you aware that you articulated exactly my concerns around how the statement of intent shows? I mean, for example, do you think this is good for public consumption or for people to be able to actually understand, you know, what AET are doing? For example, improve effectiveness operating expenditure. Basically, it's program for achieving efficiency targets. What does that mean? You know, transform public transport in Westgate by building a bus station. You know, how does that actually show us that we're going to deliver the kinds of congestion-freeing type activities? So I suppose that's what I want to know is, you know, just really you've hit the nail on the head. And, you know, how did you know that, David? How did you know that? That's exactly what I'm thinking.
These are very strained efforts to turn statements into questions.
I
David,
think I don't want to waste the effort that David's made, actually.
David,
really
would you like to comment in response, please?
Thank you, Councillor Cooper and Mayor. This is evidence of your expertise. You know, hey, you know this stuff. I didn't make this up. You know this. I'm just saying, please take the time to just think about it. And is this really, because I know you've got a big agenda and, you know, a lot of work's already gone into this stage and I don't want to take away from that, but is this the best we can do at this stage? I'm asking for better.
Councillor Cashmore, Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. David, thank you for your advocacy, and thank you also for recognising commercial traffic sometimes gets left behind in the furore with PT, cycling and walking, which are all important, so we need the mixture. So my question is simply, your advocacy here about the statements of intent for Auckland Transport are important, but also we have Kiwi Rail and NZTA. Do you advocate equally to them for lifting their game as well?
I do, but I haven't been to Parliament to speak. I mean, yes, you know, we definitely need that third line on the south, and we certainly need the NZTA to, well, you know the work that they're doing on the various motorways, and that lane phasing has a massive effect. They talk about integrating the one network, but by heavens, that's creating a lot of congestion down across all sorts of roads across Auckland, and one wonders if that, again, is the best that could be done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, just to remind you, we have got this as the next item on the agenda, so please don't use this as a rehearsal for what you're going to say in the next item. I've got 3 last questions from Councillors Simpson, Mike Lee and Councillor Newman. So could I please try and get you to make it into a question? Councillor Simpson.
Thank you, Your Worship. David, look, I don't know you at all, but I commend you for what you're saying, and I believe it's what Auckland is saying. But have you ever looked at any other statement of intents Council has made with Auckland Transport before? So my question to you is, what has made you come this time? It's amazing.
Thank you, Councillor Simpson. Yes, I have, and previously I've let it go. I have looked at it because it just doesn't sing for me in the past. The wording is so similar in this one as to be, I couldn't pick the difference from the last time. And from previous times, I did believe that David Warburton made a presentation to council elected members saying that, you know, people were a big part of, you know, their success, and so that was back in the second term, and so I was expecting that sort of flavour to come in more clearly into this, but it wasn't, and I was disappointed. And the reason that I've come today is because people are just saying, you know, it's just driving them up the wall, and do they take annual leave on Friday afternoon because the traffic's just so terrible, or what do they, you know, and I don't know what I can do, but, you know, you folks have got, you know, the mana to be able to do something perhaps.
I can assure you he's been in constant contact and monitoring this for a very long time.
Yes.
I know where he lives.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mike Lee, question please.
It's partially rhetorical, so I think we'll keep it to the next item if you wait.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lee. And I've got finally Councillor Newman.
Thank you, David, my near neighbour in Wattle Downs. Good to see my constituent here. Do I take it from your perspective that would it be fair to say you consider the approach to these statements of intents have been overly driven by AT as the road controlling authority rather than Auckland Council as the shareholder?
If I want this is a draft, I don't know who's worked on it, and again, there's a lot of expertise. I believe AT knows a heck of a lot about this subject that's not reflected in this document. So I'm not taking away from AT's expertise, but I believe this is Auckland Council's chance to say, this is what we expect. And, you know, whoever's prepared it, that's great, they've done their best, but, you know, all of us, I've taken the trouble to come in and voice, you know, what you know already, really. Yeah, it's a clever
Thank you.
answer.
Councillor Sayers promised to make his comment a question and to keep it brief.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I will do both. David, I don't know your background, but you've obviously, you know, studied this and taken some interest in it. So I was just curious. My question is, have you any knowledge about more compact cities being more congested cities versus, you know, perhaps less compact cities being less congested? Is there any reports along those lines that you might be able to steer me in the right direction to have a look at?
The short answer is no. I haven't lived in those cities, and most of my work's been focused on this city, including the beautiful area where you live as well. Yeah.
Councillor Sayers will send you some reports.
Thank you very much, David. Look, I can assure you there's, I doubt that there's a councillor around this table that doesn't share your concerns. I know that there's a couple of us coming from the south that, you know, even travelling off-peak, early hour and later in the evening, spend an hour in each way to get to and from work. that is a cause of frustration and a loss of personal time and a loss of productivity. The next item that we have on the agenda will be of interest to you. I think Auckland Transport is the fourth item on the agenda, but you can see online the paper that we are considering that makes many of the points that you've just made, saying the statement of intent, this is from Council back to AT, should be more forward-looking and more comprehensively respond to the challenges, needs to outline more clearly the context and the key transport challenges. We need a clear sense of for the public of where the money to be spent is required. We need a clearer depiction of the total transport budget. So that need for greater clarity is something that we will be discussing in a few moments, that we do need back, and Auckland Transport come back to us having received our comments, and hopefully will take on board what we're saying and indeed what you've come along to say today. So I hope that that gives you some satisfaction. So I'll move that we receive the presentation from David Hopkins regarding the clarity of the draft statement of intent for Auckland Transport, and to thank you for your attendance. I have a seconder for that, Councillor Simpson. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no.
Thanks,
Carried.
David.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Right, the next item on the agenda is local board input, and there has been no input from the local board. Item number 8, extraordinary items. None have been provided to council. Item number 9, notice of motion. We have received none. And we come now to, I think, what will be our biggest paper for discussion today, which is the shareholder comment on the draft statements of intent for the substantive council-controlled organisations. So if I can welcome to the table Edward Siddle, our Principal Advisor, and Alistair Cameron, Manager of CCO Governance and External Partnerships. Can I just say a couple of words at the beginning? Particularly for those who, like me, are new to this process. What we have got in front of us today are draft statements of intent, not final statements of intent. And they are in response to the letter of expectations that I sent to each of the CCO chairs in December last year. Staff have gone through and done a detailed check of the statements of intent, and they have made in the paper before you some of their recommendations about how the statements of intent need to be sharpened up. These need to be with the chairs of the boards under legislation, I think, by Sunday, which means that I will need to work on that with the chair of the Finance Committee and in consultation with some of the other chairs tomorrow afternoon. So the suggestions that you make today, we will endeavour to incorporate in our staff comments that are in the paper before you. We send those back to the CCOs. They then present by June their final statement of intent, but then that is subject to amendment by us, and we are able unilaterally at the end of that process to change the statement of intent if we believe that the CCOs have not responded in an adequate form to the suggestions that we have made to them. These are important because they outline the intentions and activities for the coming year. They are an opportunity for us to influence direction, and they do provide the basis for accountability. But when we make these suggestions, please keep in mind when you speak to them that it is about the statement of intent. It's not about delving into the details, and it's not about promoting policies that council might not yet have agreed on. This is to try to get some clarity and some substance into the statements of intent so that the boards are working to our plan and are accountable to us. So those are my preliminary comments, but Alistair or Edward, you might like to lead off. I think if we go in alphabetical order through each of the CCOs, pause at the end of them, and then we'll have the opportunity to handle them one at a time. If we do them all together, we'll get lost in the jumble.